Hello and welcome to Gameonysus Weekly, your one-stop shop for video game news, keeping up with the biggest stories so you don't have to. I'm your host, Janet Garcia, and today we're talking about Activision Blizzard's exited employees, a new game from the creator of Stardew Valley, and a whole bunch of game release dates and delays. All these stories and so much more on today's episode. Starting with Activision Blizzard saying 20 employees have exited as a part of harassment investigations. The article reads, Activision says more than 20 employees have exited the company and more than 20 other employees have been reprimanded following complaints about misconduct. The Financial Times reported that the company sent a letter to staff on Tuesday with the details. The chief compliance officer, Francis Townsend, told the outlet that the list included game developers and a few supervisors, but no members of the board. Activision Blizzard later posted the letter online. The letter outlines a company attempt to earn our team's confidence that when they speak up, they will be heard, following a series of lawsuits accusing Activision Blizzard employees of systematic discrimination and gender-based harassment. It says the disciplinary actions followed an increase in reports about incidents that range from years ago to the present. After investigation, in connection with various resolved reports, more than 20 individuals have exited Activision Blizzard, and more than 20 individuals faced other types of disciplinary action. In addition to the terminations and reprimands, Activision Blizzard says that it will add 19 full-time employees to its ethics and compliance team on top of 3 roles it's already added, and triple its investment in training resources, echoing public promises to upgrade to its compliance with workplace protection laws. And jumping down towards the end of the article, Townsend apparently acknowledged to FT that Activision Blizzard hasn't met all the demands of protesting employees who have requested, among other things, an end to mandatory arbitration for harassment complaints, but she said that further changes would be coming, saying that Activision Blizzard's board and CEO Bobby Kotick had given her a blank check for reform. We are committed to making meaningful and positive change, and this is just the start, the letter reads. We will be sharing additional updates in the coming weeks and months. Overall, this does feel like a step in the right direction, getting rid of some of the bad folks that are at Activision Blizzard while also reprimanding others. It does seem somewhat interesting that it is using that exited language. I do wonder sort of what those conversations looked like and how that was approached. Maybe there were contract issues that made it so that you couldn't do a formal firing. Like, that kind of stuff gets a little bit complicated. Again, looking at it optimistically, I think just getting those people out of there is a good step, though, you know, it does beg the question of that trickle-down effect that we often see in the industry where someone either is fired, let go, laid off, they step down from a position of power at one company only to later resurface at another company, and they're the same person with the same behaviors. So I do think that is an ongoing issue that we tend to see. But again, looking at this from a little bit more of an optimistic angle, I think just seeing action being taken and hearing that we know this is not everything everyone's asked for, and we are working toward making more of those adjustments. Now, the question, of course, is will these protesting employees actually get everything they're asking for? We don't know. It hasn't been necessarily acknowledged that that will be the case, but we at least are seeing some of that change happening in real time. And speaking of Activision Blizzard, we know that Overwatch's McCree was getting a name change. That name change is now official. Pulling from Matt Oils over at Eurogamer, the article reads, Overwatch's McCree will be renamed Cole Cassidy next week amid fallout from Activision Blizzard lawsuit. And this is following California's ongoing lawsuit. The article reads, McCree is just one of many characters across Blizzard's portfolio to have taken his name from a developer at the company. However, back in August, Blizzard announced it would be renaming the cowboy after real-life Jesse McCree, who had been named in several accounts of the studio's toxic work culture, was confirmed to have departed the company amid the fallout from the lawsuit, although no reason for his exit was given. So again, we're seeing like that exit language and sort of that vague ending of these relationships. Anyway, the article continues. 2 months on, the official Overwatch Twitter feed has now revealed Cole Cassidy to be the new name for the sharpshooter, formerly known as Jesse McCree, with a change set to occur in an update next Tuesday, October 26th. And from there, the article just continues to discuss other examples of these name changes and reminding us that in a statement to the Washington Post this August, Blizzard pledged that going forward, in-game characters will no longer be named after real employees and will be more thoughtful and discerning about adding real-world references in future Overwatch content. And again, this change has been coming down the pipeline for some time, so it definitely doesn't come as a shock. It's more like, oh, we finally have a name. I think Cole Cassidy is an awesome name. It sounds super cool. I think it works really well. I feel like this is going to be a pretty easy shift over into this new name for this beloved character. So yeah, I think it's good news all around. Again, we've known this change is coming for a while. And at this point, the only thing that could have went wrong is if the name was like kind of weird or didn't really fit that well. But Cole Cassidy, yeah, I think it sounds great. And speaking of new, the creator of Stardew Valley just unveiled their new game, which is shifting from farming to chocolate making. This comes over from Ana Diaz at Polygon. This was revealed via a trailer posted on YouTube. And the article reads, the game is called Haunted Chocolatier, and from the looks of it, it will allow you to run a giant chocolate factory. The stream showed a character walking through a set of double doors towards a mountain, exploring woods, and then teased a clip of a shop that employs a ghost as a cashier. Although the game looks very similar to Stardew Valley, the creator clarified in a tweet that Haunted Chocolatier is its own separate game and not an update to Stardew Valley. And this looks pretty cool. I'm excited about it not being a farming sim. I also think it's pretty cool that the creator is even going with the new project, because they totally could have just stayed with Stardew kind of forever, but I think this sort of speaks to their desire to make something new and express a new idea. Again, art design wise, it looks super similar to Stardew, but I think that just helps put it in conversation with that game and like sort of set expectations in terms of some of what you can expect in terms of style, but also I think quality. So many people loved Stardew Valley, and I think if this is anywhere near that, it will be a huge success. And I'm excited about Haunted Chocolatier. Ghosts are good. Chocolate's good. I think this is going to be an interesting one. Though we also have like no idea when this is going to come out. I think it'll probably be some time, but we at least have a first look at what this is going to be like. And for more things coming down the pipeline, Sony is testing a very much requested feature. And it's PS5 captures popping up on your phone for sharing. This comes over from The Verge, Jay Peters, who has the subhead in testing in Canada and Japan. The article reads, Sony is testing a way to share screenshots and video captures taken on your PS5 with the PlayStation app, the company announced Monday. The new feature is part of a limited release beta available to all PS5 users in Canada and Japan. Once you have the feature enabled, new captures should start to show up in the app. Video clips and screenshots of the games are available in the PlayStation app for 14 days after you manually create them on your PS5 console. Sony says in an FAQ, you won't need a PlayStation Plus membership to use the feature, at least in this beta. However, clips can only have a resolution of up to 1920 by 1080 to appear in the app. Sony says clips in a higher resolution won't be uploaded. If you delete a screenshot or video from your console, you'll still be able to access it on the PlayStation app. Some things to know from the FAQs. Video clips and screenshots of games that are taken on your console, they're automatically put onto the app for 14 days, but trophy moments and activity challenge auto captures are not uploaded. Videos can only be up to 3 minutes in addition to like the resolution caps they have. You can do this without Wi-Fi, you can do this without PlayStation Plus again, but you cannot manually upload screenshots. So if you have like old screenshots and videos that you want to get off of your console and you're thinking of using this feature, you won't be able to do that, but moving forward, they'll just automatically be put on there when you take them. Super small thing, not exactly going to change the shape of PlayStation for the generation, but a really nice quality of life thing that's currently missing from PlayStation that feels like very much an oversight, especially when you look over the Xbox side of things. So I'm really hoping that this gets rolled out in the US and is soon just the standard, and we no longer have to deal with these really weird ways to get our captures off, whether you're hooking up to your PC and doing it that way, or I know a lot of people that just message people their screenshots on PlayStation because then those appear via the app. Like that's really the only way to get capture onto the app and then onto your phone subsequently. So yeah, I want this a lot. Let's make this happen. It would just be a really, really nice thing. So hopefully this comes out at least in beta to the US, or, who knows, maybe they're just doing that beta in Canada and Japan. And if that goes well, they're just going to roll it out everywhere. We'll see. Now let's get into indies teaming up with some big companies. Starting with Epic Games announcing publishing partnerships with Eyes Out and Spry Fox. On their site, they write, Eyes Out is a brand new LA-based studio co-founded by veteran game designer Corey Davis, Spec Ops The Line, and Nine Inch Nails guitarist Robin Fink. In 2019, Davis and Fink received an Epic mega grant allowing them to begin work on a proof of concept for their first game. Impressed by their early work and vision, Epic funded a prototype to further their innovative game idea and expand their team. Eyes Out's first title will be an as-yet unannounced multi-platform cosmic horror game built using the Unreal Engine. And then as far as Spry, with the mission statement of making the world a happier place through games, the award-winning Spry is best known for creating titles with unique mechanics and approachable and unforgettable worlds. Earlier this year, the studio released Cozy Grove, a life sim game that combined crafting, collection discovery, and a memorable narrative. The team is now partnering with Epic Games and using Unreal Engine, Epic Online Services, and Epic Account Services to build its most ambitious title to date, a multi-platform, non-violent, persistent multiplayer game designed to encourage friendship and reduce loneliness in the world. The title will support cross-play and cross-progression. Cosmic horror coming out of with that new LA studio, Eyes Out. That sounds intriguing. I don't really have a personal attachment to Spec Ops: The Line or Nine Inch Nails, so I can't say that I'm envisioning anything too specific with this or too hopeful in any like really tangible way, though shout out to the studio being based in LA because that's where I am at. But you know, I'll be interested to hear more about what that game actually ends up being. As far as Spry, I actually do like that team quite a bit. I really love Alpha Bears 1 and 2. It's a mobile game that's basically like Boggle but with bears, and it's awesome. I still haven't beaten it because it's just kind of long, and it has a few of those mobile trappings with like timers on some things, even though I did buy the full version, which helps. It gets rid of ads and gives you more of the sort of items that you need to continue to play the game. But anyway, that's a little bit of a digression, but that game was fire. Cozy Grove, on the other hand, wasn't really a big fan of. I felt like it didn't really do what I was hoping it would do. And it also fell into some of those very mobile trappings, which it was available on console, but also on mobile. And it just, yeah, there were some issues I had with that game, but overall, I think the team has interesting visions, and I'm excited to hear what this multi-platform, non-violent multiplayer game is. You know, when I think non-violent multiplayer, I do think Animal Crossing, but then when I think Animal Crossing, I think about how bad the multiplayer in Animal Crossing is. So I'm very much looking forward to something that could be cute and cool, that actually is fun to play with friends. And I think supporting crossplay and cross-progression out the gate is a big deal. That is starting to become industry standard, but I think we are a little bit away from that being the case all the time, and I'm sure that has its own developmental challenges. So shout out to the team for having those integrations and kind of having that thought behind it. Clearly their ethos here is, you know, they're saying to reduce loneliness in the world, so part of that does need or require a level of connectivity that another game might not. So yeah, I'm excited to see what this is. Hopefully we see these pop up at some like indie showcases somewhere, and then we can kind of think back to the story like, oh yeah, that's the thing that Epic's doing. That's Spry, that's Eyes Out. I remember hearing about them, and we can start to sort of map out this, in one case, new trajectory, and in another case, additional part of the developmental timeline for this studio. So yeah, we'll see what comes of this. And next up, Molasses Flood joins CDPR. This is posted on CDPR's official website, which says, CD Projekt announces the acquisition of US-based developer The Molasses Flood. Founded in Boston in 2014 by BioShock, Halo, and Guitar Hero and Rock Band series veterans, The Molasses Flood is known for survival and base-building games like The Flame in the Flood and Drake Hollow. And then they have the classic, like, oh, we're so excited, etc., etc. But then they get into a little bit more detail, saying the Molasses Flood will be working in close cooperation with CD Projekt Red, but will keep their current identity and will not be merged with existing teams. The studio will be working on its own ambitious project, which is based on one of CD Projekt's IPs. Details about that project will be announced in the future. So now I'm just thinking, like, The Flame in the Flood, but with The Witcher, is essentially the first thing that comes to mind. But I don't know. I'm not sure which of their IPs they're going to be pulling from, and if it's just going to be what we sort of expect, which would be a survival or base building spin-off of those IPs, or if it'll be something that is a little bit more left field. We'll have to just sort of wait and see on this one. As far as the team itself, I think Molasses Flood is pretty great. I did enjoy my time with The Flame in the Flood, though I did not get very far in it. Survival and games of that ilk are not really my forte, and I just didn't spend enough time with it to really like make further progression. But I think it's a talented team, and always the case with these acquisitions, I just hope that it ends up being a good deal and a good time for those indie studios. Obviously, when you sign a contract like this, you do it because you think it will be the best thing for you and your team, and hopefully that ends up being the case. That's always what I want out of these partnerships. I will say CD Projekt's IPs aren't ones that speak to me at a very high level, so hearing this collab doesn't get me excited for what that spin-off will necessarily look like, but I am excited for what it will be, only because I think Molasses Flood is a talented team. So I'm more excited about the Molasses Flood part than I am the CDPR part, but we'll see what they end up coming up with, and when we end up hearing more about this, CDPR has their own things down the pipeline that are coming up, which we're going to get into in just a second. That's right, we're talking delays, and since we just talked about CDPR, let's jump to... There's a couple delays we would talk about. Let's talk about next-gen Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3. Now, these releases were originally slated for 2021, but as the CDPR tweet reads, based on recommendations supplied by teams supervising the development of both games, we decided to postpone their releases until 2022. The current target for Cyberpunk 2077, next-gen version, is the first quarter of 2022, and the second quarter of 2022 is for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I'm a little surprised to see that The Witcher 3 is coming out after Cyberpunk, because that seems like the one that I would think would be easier to get out the door, but I also think the Cyberpunk thing has been brewing for so long, it probably makes sense for them to get that out first. And probably the biggest delay this week, at least the most high-profile delay, was Elden Ring. It will now release on February 25th, 2022. They wrote that as the depth and strategic freedom of the game exceeded initial expectations, they are delaying it. Thank you for your trust and patience. We look forward to seeing you experience the game in the closed network test in November. So there is a way to play that game before it comes out if you are a part of that closed network test, but the game is delayed by a little bit into February 25th, which now February is very, very stacked. And lastly, for delays, Nintendo of America took to Twitter as well and said, "Hello troops, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, which was initially set to launch on December 3rd, will now release for Nintendo Switch in spring 2022. Which for me, I'm kind of like, honestly, I'm getting kind of tired. I'm good just not having any more games to play. But at the same time, December was definitely like a quieter time, especially for this year. We don't really know what spring 2022 is going to look like. So I do think that sort of puts them, I wouldn't say at a disadvantage, but I think it's a less opportune window for them to sort of take hold of gaming. Now let's talk about game events that are coming up. PlayStation is having another State of Play and is heading our way on Wednesday, October 27th at 2 p.m. PT. As far as what to expect, head over to the PlayStation blog, which writes, "This time out, we'll be focusing on announcements and updates for upcoming third-party releases headed to PS5 and PS4. The show is looking to be 20 minutes or so, and we will share looks at previously announced games, plus a few reveals from our partners around the world." That being said, I'm just hoping that we see Stray. Maybe we get a Stray release date. I think a Stray release date would be a huge W from this. Other than that, I'm just hoping that maybe we see a few things that we hadn't heard of before that are sort of exciting. Maybe a few indie things that can pique our interest and maybe become the next, sort of indie darling of PlayStation for 2022. Other than that, it's going to be things we've already seen before and sort of a reminder of what to expect, especially or hopefully in that early 2022 window, so we can start to build in our minds, okay, what does 2022 for PlayStation look like and what do I have to look forward to? And we also have a big Xbox anniversary coming up. It is the 20th anniversary of Xbox, so they are doing a celebration stream on November 15th at 10 a.m. PT. It is the anniversary of Xbox and Halo, but they did mention, while we won't announce any new games, this anniversary broadcast will be a special look back at 20 years of Xbox. We'll share more details soon, so stay tuned. Which, to be honest, that is a bit of a disappointment. I know maybe announcing stuff doesn't necessarily line up with these big exciting anniversaries, and at the same time, having new game announcements might just also sour things if the announcement isn't exciting enough or if the deadline isn't specific enough or the date. But as soon as I heard we won't be announcing anything new, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna watch this then, because I have hopefully they give, again, more details as we get closer to the date, because they did mention that they'll be doing that, but I have a bad feeling that's gonna just be really long and drawn out and not that interesting. Something I would like to see from this that would get me personally interested in it would be maybe a fun sort of mini documentary that premieres, and I don't know, I'd need to have something that hooks and intrigues me to watch it, because it's not something I'm just gonna tune into just to check it out. Though maybe, you know, it's not for me in that sense. Maybe for like a really passionate Xbox fan, they're ready to see what they have to show off and how they're celebrating the 20th. And you know, I may have it on, I think, in the background at least. Like, I'm not against watching it. It's just that a lot of times these streams go on just so long. They're like 2 or 3 hours. And it's just kind of a lot of time to invest when it's not something that's as eye-catching as like a bunch of releases or trailers. So we'll see what they end up doing for that. But that anniversary stream is happening on November 15th. All right, we've talked game events. Now let's talk some game releases. God of War is coming to PC on January 14th, 2022. And with it comes many of those bells and whistles that come with having a PC release, in terms of being able to have the option of true 4K resolution, full integration with NVIDIA, deep learning, super sampling, DLSS available on RTX, a bunch of stuff like that. You know, things like the graphics and performance improvements, offering 21:9 ultra widescreen support, controller support and keyboard mapping customization. I'm really excited to see the PC community get their hands on this game. And I do think, as far as, you know, PlayStation ports to PC, so far they've been pretty consistently way after the fact and very clearly to build hype for the upcoming release. So this seems definitely along those lines, and if anything, it's just a reminder that yes, Ragnarok is on its way, and this is one way to sort of draw up excitement for it and maybe get some people to buy a PlayStation who otherwise may not have wanted to. We finally got a look at the GTA, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition, and we got a release date as well. It is coming out on November 11th. That's when it'll be available digitally. It will also get a physical release on December 7th. It's going to be $60. We also finally got a look at Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition, which is coming November 11th. That's when it will be available digitally. If you want the physical version, you're going to have to wait until December 7th. But all 3 games are going to be available as one bundle for $59.99. which I think is a very reasonable price for what this is. And the update looks amazing. It's very, very noticeable, like the visual change, but yet still retains like the core art style, which kind of is like a bit cartoony. I think it helps lean into a little bit more of a timeless look by just giving it that extra layer of polish. Other things that are mentioned are that the Definitive Edition introduces a wide range of modern control upgrades, including improvements to targeting and lock-on aiming, updated weapon and radio station wheels, updated mini-maps with enhanced navigation, allowing players to set waypoints to destinations, updated achievements, trophies, and more. The Nintendo Switch version also features Switch-specific controls, including gyro aiming, as well as touchscreen camera zooming, pans, and menu selections, while the PC version includes support for NVIDIA DLSS and additional new accomplishments via the Rockstar Games Social Club. Additional enhancements across all 3 titles include a completely rebuilt lighting system, improved shadows, weather and reflections, upgraded character and vehicle models, along with a new higher resolution textures across buildings, weapons, roads, interiors, and more. Overall, this looks awesome, and I'm very excited to play it when it comes out. And lastly, Among Us finally has its console release dates. It will launch on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Series X on Tuesday, December 14th. And it will also be a day one on Game Pass when it launches. And this will primarily be a digital release with maybe some physical copies popping up in different places. And those are all the stories we have for this week. Thank you so much for watching over on youtube.com/Gameonysus. Be sure to like, subscribe, tap the bell, and leave a comment below with what you thought of this week's stories. And keep in mind that on that YouTube version, you can also see visuals. So sometimes when I'm talking about the articles, I'll pull up the articles, I'll pull up game trailers. So definitely check out that YouTube version if you haven't already, and subscribe for all the other content that comes to this channel. And thank you for listening on podcast services. Be sure to leave a review if possible, because it helps the show a whole lot. And as always, a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. You too can join over on patreon.com/Gameonysus, where you can get early access to this show, plus a bunch of other cool exclusive content. And as always, I will see y'all here next time. Bye.